Welcome back to That Handicapping Show, sponsored by RacingToday.com. I'm Tom LaMarra, joined again by Claire Novak, and as we enter December, today we're looking at the Claiming Crown at Gulfstream Park on Saturday. It's a series of 8 races with starter allowance conditions. It started in, I believe, 1999. And the last couple of years at Gulfstream, it's really picked up. The purses have been increased. Actually, the feature is $200,000. The horses are not in for a claiming price. Just remember that. They have raced for a specific claiming price or less since January of 2012. So these races are run under starter allowance conditions. And for those of you who play horses on a regular basis, you know starter allowance races and starter handicap races can be extremely contentious, great handicapping races. And that's what we have here. We have a collection of horses who have raced in stakes, some coming up from lower level claimers, some who were claimed recently, specifically with these races in mind, some who were claimed a year and a half ago, and they turned out to be some really, really good claims, and they've been protected ever since. We're not going to talk about the Claiming Crown Express at 6 furlongs for horses who have started for a claiming price of $7,500 or less. But again, here's a horse, Rebo Bobo, who was the favorite against Ben's Cat in the Fabulous Strike at Penn National a little bit more than a week ago, and here he's going to ship to Florida. He's in the race. He just got beat by Ben's Cat, so pretty good fields here for the Claiming Crown.
Yeah, it's a nice chance for some blue-collar horses to get to show their stuff for some good money, and claiming trainers who really understand the game, and owners like the Ramseys who excel at that.
Yep.
And last year the Ramseys had just a phenomenal Claiming Crown. I think they won 4 or 5, something like that, and then they had a horse that narrowly got beat. And so they're coming back in here and trying to get the job done. I asked Mr. Ramsey when we were at Churchill what his chances were this weekend, and he said he thinks he's a little bit lighter than he was last year. But you know that he always guns for a particular spot.
Interesting. So. We're going to be looking at the Jewel, which is the featured Claiming Crown race, I guess you would say. It's
the marquee event.
Right. It's $200,000. For horses who have started for a claiming price of $35,000 or less since January 1, 2012. It's 1 1/8 miles, and it drew a pretty good field. There actually are horses in some of these other races that probably could be competitive in this, but obviously they're eligible for the easier spot. Who do you like in the Jewel?
Well, I'm not super familiar with a lot of these runners, but a couple that I will recognize and probably our audience will recognize: Bernie the Maestro, Voodoo Storm, and those two are definitely the class of the field. Bernie the Maestro coming off a good win in the Schaefer Memorial at Indiana, and also both of these horses have won their past 2 starts and have done so relatively well. So Voodoo Storm at Mountaineer rolled by 7 3/4 in that race, whereas Bernie the Maestro's victories have been a little narrower. But I really, looking through the race, those are the 2 who stand out on paper, and Bernie the Maestro is a Ramsey runner, so they'll be ready. Another horse who's interesting to me is Dominant Jeans, who's a former West Point horse, claimed and ran second in the Jewel last year, only 3/4 of a length. So that's one that I would look at, although last time out ran 3rd in not quite as good company. But I think that horse... I think that Jason Service said when they picked that horse up and then had this race definitely in mind to come back to. Like you said, some people claiming horses to run with the goal of winning these races. So that's one that I would look at including as well.
Yeah, he did run at Parks in October in his last start and hasn't raced since. But quite frankly, there's some pretty good claiming / starter horses at Parks these days, so I certainly wouldn't underestimate him.
Well, and looking at the Briz figures as well, this horse kind of ranks right up there with those other 2 I mentioned. So that's something I went to look at just because I'm not as familiar with covering the campaigns of these runners.
Right. Voodoo Storm, interesting claim for $25,000 at Ellis Park in August, and then proceeded to Run second for 50,000 at Churchill, and then of course the open allowance race at Mountaineer was a blowout, as was the Mountaineer Mile. Claimed by Tim Gleishaw, who was a Churchill Downs base trainer, who really does well with these kind of horses. And interesting, Deshaun Parker making a rare Gulfstream Park appearance, according to the PPs here. Mountaineer based, he won he won with him the past 2 times. So Bernie the Maestro did beat Taptowne, who came back to win a stakes recently, and I forget which one it is, and I apologize for that.
Too.
But he just won a stakes.
Yeah, that is
nice
a nice
horse.
horse. That wasn't
very,
that the
very
horse
nice
that was entered in the Breeders' Cup?
Oh, he won at Penn National.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. All right. So that is the Jewel, and then we're going to take a quick look at the
Iron Horse.
The Iron Horse, which is for horses who start for 7,500 or less. And again, this is a full field of 14. Some familiar names that, horses who have really been good claims. Horned Frog, What the Cat Drug In, Brother Bird, et cetera, et cetera. I have a liking for a horse called Point Finish, who has run really well in Kentucky and the Midwest for George Leonard, been working well at Turfway off the layoff, and I think he also has some class, so good shot.
Alrighty, and I'm hopeful for Brother Bird to get a chance, and that would just be my going off of the pedigree and the connections. Really, have to mind that bird and to duel a hand. Obviously, this brother is not this is like the black sheep of the family, maybe, or maybe he's the one who tried all the sports and ended up being good at some random thing like wiffle ball, or I don't know. But Brother Bird, he does need to come back off of a couple of lackluster performances. But again, you have to take a serious look at the Ramsey horses, because you know how competitive Mr. Ramsey is, you know how well he plays the claiming game, and you know that he would really like to do as well as he did last year. And so horses that he's pointed to these races, I think would even have a little bit more consideration. You mentioned What the Cat Drug In, and that one does need to come back. Hasn't won since June, but was a great claim by the Macaulays. And I don't know, at some point in time somebody's going to say to me, why do you keep picking those Macaulay horses? But they do make a good, they claim horses or buy horses and put them into spots generally where they can improve or return a good investment. They might not win, but a horse that's running 3rd or 4th in these stakes and wherever they place these horses tends to bring back a good paycheck, and then they can move on and sell them again or breed them. So, but that's one that I would take
All right,
a look
well, he did draw 13 of a 14-horse field in the Iron Horse, which again is 1 16th with a short run to the first turn. So this race should be very interesting from a speed post-position perspective.
Mention the Peter Wilder horse too. What is it? How do you pronounce that? Toes Gray Cat? Taz Gray Cat?
Toes Gray Cat.
Toes Gray Cat. I mean, this horse has won the past 2, done so impressively. Good drawing away efforts. I wouldn't be surprised to see that one jump up.
All right, this is a wide open race.
Obviously.
A very good betting race, and we wish you the best with the Claiming Crown. We thank our sponsor, racingtoday.com. That's racing2day.com. And of course, we thank Briss for all these past performances for all these races. So for Claire, I'm Tom. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on That Handicapping Show.